YouTube. All right, apparently we're on YouTube right now.
Awesome. Live?
Live.
Or broadcasting?
Yeah, broadcasting. So we were gonna be.
So we're being watched.
We're being watched. Hello, world. YouTube. How do you guys like the gray man? Did you see that video?
I thought it was hysterical, man. I like the gray man. Constantly checking his six.
Yeah.
Because that's what you got to do to be cool. Check your six.
Okay, now I'm live on Instagram, and you should have a. We need to add.
All right.
Username. It'd be South Narc.
We need to add him.
There you go. You were invited, Craig.
Request to join. Go live with Tenicor. Cool.
There we are.
Look at the tech.
Okay. So I'm Jeff Mao with Tenicor, here with my friend. We were just talking about, we've known each other, Craig Douglas, South Narc or ShivWorks. We've known each other 15, 17 years.
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah. So we are here to talk about Combatives Summit. So Combatives Summit is coming up at the end, about a month from now. And it is in, or I guess no, 3 weeks from now on September 20th. And can you pronounce for me the name of the city?
I can. It is in D'Iberville.
Yes, which is your
D'Iberville, Mississippi, which is it's a bedroom community of Biloxi, where Keesler Air Force Base is at. It's right on the Gulf Coast.
Craig, can you turn your Instagram volume down a little bit? I think
I can.
Some feedback.
How is that? Is that better?
Yep. I guess then mute your IG mic, if that's a thing you can do.
Mute my IG mic. Let me see if I can mute. Okay, muted.
Cool. Yep.
Is that good?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's in your backyard, right?
It is. So D'Iberville is it's a municipality on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. It's a bedroom community of Biloxi. And I did the area is where I was born and raised. The county right next door, Jackson County, that's where I did my law enforcement career. So yeah, it's home.
Yeah, awesome. Let's see. So I have never been to Combatives Summit. I'm going this year. So what should I expect?
Here's what you should expect. You should expect fellowship. You should expect a shared experience. You should expect meeting people that you've talked to on the internet.
Apparently, stand by. Sorry, I'm being told unmute your mic now.
Unmute my mic. Okay. I'm gonna unmute it. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you just great.
Okay. Can everybody else hear me?
Yeah, now you're good.
Okay. I've got to readjust all my camera stuff. Okay. Can the world hear me? Is your tech guy giving you a thumbs up?
Yeah, everyone's giving me a thumbs up now.
All right, good.
Okay.
So, what can you expect? You can expect, as I was saying, you can expect fellowship. You can expect a shared experience with like-minded people. You can expect hard days of quality training. You can expect to be around people who think like you and people who don't think like you and whose perspective you're interested in. It is a world-class global meeting of the minds for the best minds, I think, right now on the planet, who are all looking at combatives from shared and different perspectives. It's really cool. It's an amazing thing that we're trying to foster and build. And yeah, Tenicor is a brand. And Jeff, you as a person, I've known you and I can say this. I mean, you and Tenicor belong at the Combatives Summit. There's no doubt.
Thank you. Yeah, we're excited to be there. What class are you teaching?
So I am teaching basically a class on talking shit, which is what I do. But we call it, I call it weaponizing language for tactical end states.
Okay.
And essentially it's a hodgepodge of different pieces of the ShivWorks curriculum but all focusing and centered around the idea of the effect that language has on motor activity. And specifically, we're going to be looking at the problem of spontaneous assaults, i.e. sucker punches. We're going to be looking at what it feels like to be on the receiving end of that, and why that problem is so difficult, and the diminishing effect that language has on motor activity. We're going to get a really good feeling on that. And then once we punch each other up and understand how bad that is, we're going to look at the inverse of that and look at using that language to create lulls and create and apply friction to the adversary, so we can strike them preemptively, or we can do things like crawl out of really deep holes. How does a gun disarm actually work, right? Is it the physical part, the actual strip, or the mechanical release of the gun, or is it in the setup? I'm 1-0 on gun disarms in the real world. Cost me some hearing. My experience is anecdotal, but I do have experience, and I've taught a lot of people, and I think it's in the setup, and I think weaponizing language is part of that. And then we're going to look at getting out of really deep holes and maybe look at some, questions and things that we think we know, such as, it's suicide to draw on a drawn gun. Is it really? And can you create opportunities to draw a gun literally when you're held at gunpoint with a person focused on you? How would you do that? What would that look like? Is that even possible? I want to explore that. And more than anything, I want to use those 3 specific situations to really familiarize people with the idea of what language is, what it does, the effect of it, how to weaponize it. And then I want them to carry that forward into their training and figure out things that we don't know. So it's an overview of an idea with a couple of different specific situational events set up to highlight that common theme.
Yep, that's awesome. So oftentimes when people think about tactics, they are thinking about structures and geometry. I define tactics as manipulating a situation to your advantage. And the reality is language and the use of language is the thing that is the most common and easily used tactic to gain an advantage. And whether that is prior to the violent confrontation or in the midst of the violent confrontation, right? You certainly can use language to feign like helplessness or feign surrender that can create opportunities for you to change the dynamics of that conflict. So yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely, man. And my professional experience, has certainly put me in scenarios that, I've had to use language to that effect. And, it's interesting. I think it's a really underserved topic in our community. And I know last year when we did the first one and all the guys were presenting their topics, they were overwhelmingly physical. And I was like, I'm going to do something different. Number one. So it's not just same old thing, from every single instructor. But it's just really underserved. And even though we do training on this, we've done training in this area for publicly available for 22 years now, it's still cumbersome, imperfect training. So to me, getting more people looking at it and more people focusing on this area, I think it's going to raise the bar and refine and focus the topic of instruction, the body of work. I think, if it's going to actually be a legitimate body of work, which I think it is, just like I thought, fighting with guns and clinches and ground fights, I thought that was I thought that could be a legitimate body of work when I started doing that 22 years ago. And now apparently, okay, I was right. People think it is and more people are looking at that than ever. I think it's the same thing with this, Jeff. And I know, at least for me, as I age and I've had like some pretty horrendous health issues between illness and injury, particularly over the past 36 months. nobody ages gracefully, and we all diminish with time. I think now even more that may be a reason why I'm interested in this.
Mm-hmm.
I realize my own, you know,
Yep.
decrepitude that's constantly coming on and getting hurt and so on and so forth. It's rough. So yeah, I think that's another reason I personally am hot on it. That and it's underserved. So yeah, I look forward to it. It's a module. People who are ECQC or Shivworks alumni, they will be familiar with all of these elements, but it's probably the first time that people have seen them presented this way and kind of focused on this area um, in one like 2 hour session.
Right on. That's great. Um,
Yeah,
so going back to Combative Summit, who is the target audience, or is there a defined target audience? Do you think?
I think the target audience is the enthusiast
Okay.
or the person who teaches both enthusiasts and non-enthusiasts.
Okay.
And I think that's an important distinction. The people, the practitioners, the people who are paying however much it is, I think $800, something like that. Obviously, they want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, but a lot of those, so it's for them, regardless of whether um, they are MMA fighters, whether they're just intensely interested in self-defense, whether they're gun people who feel like they need something in the toolbox besides just a hammer. Maybe they need a wrench in addition to the hammer. It's for that person, but there are a lot of people who are enthusiasts
Mm-hmm.
who, unfortunately, and it's heartbreaking, and I've done it, teach to ambivalent, disinterested populations,
Mm-hmm.
like rank and file law enforcement, as you and I well know, because we both had legitimate law enforcement careers, or even soldiers, even people in the military. So getting those people, and I'll be quite frank, that person that serves that kind of population, man, they walk around most of the year with a broken heart. They do. Getting those people under one roof and saying, hey, man, let's just be around like-minded people
Yep.
for the weekend, and let's grow, and let's talk about how what kind of problems do you see? I see it really for those people too, right? It's a nice respite from the guy who walks in at 8 o'clock in the morning and says, hey man, what time are we getting out of here today?
Yeah. Yeah.
That dude.
Yep.
So
Um,
I think it's for that. That's I would say that's the target population, the enthusiast and the person who teaches enthusiasts and non-enthusiasts.
Yep. So basically, anyone who's motivated to come, if you're willing
Yeah.
to dedicate the time and the resources and go, and you're not a SWAT cop, you're not military special operations, you're not a jiu-jitsu black belt, you should come.
You don't have to be a former Div 1 wrestler who pops in a wrestling singlet and you look like a condom full of walnuts. You don't have to be that dude.
Yep.
You don't have to be a battle scarred, steely eyed CAD commando. You don't have to be in the intelligence community. You don't have to be a fighter. You don't have to have a ground game.
Yep.
Right? If you literally are like, hey man, I'm a bipedal human. I'm not designed to locomote in the horizontal plane. Can I come out here? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have people who will be presenting coursework that is appropriate for you, and then we have people who will be presenting coursework that's appropriate for the highest echelons of any profession or any competitive venue. So it absolutely, that is the single defining thing that unites everyone, is they want to be there.
Yeah.
They do.
Who are you excited to see at the summit?
Everybody, man. Everybody. I don't care what they do. I don't care who they are. I'm excited to see everybody.
Is there anyone specific as far as like this block of instruction or this co-presenter that intrigues you?
Oh, let's see. Man, I just like that. Well, that's another piece of it for me is getting to hang out and watch other guys present. I always like watching Ben present. Tom Kyer, he's there this year.
Okay.
Tom and I, Tom and I have never met before. We've talked on the phone a couple of times. We did a live podcast here a while back. We have very similar lived experiences, and we have a very similar training pedigree. Um, I went in a different direction, but it was really cool, kind of going down memory lane with Tom about a lot of my training that I had, particularly in Southeast Asian systems,
Yep.
in the late 80s throughout the mid 90s. I did that for a decade, and that's all I did for a decade. Um, Tom has a different perspective
Mm-hmm.
that I think is necessary and vital, just like um, Alan Belcher has a very different perspective. He's not a gun guy, really. I mean, I'm sure Alan owns a gun. Former top 10 UFC fighter,
Mm-hmm.
and currently a bare knuckle boxing champion. Um, I like the diversity, man. I like all these different perspectives looking at self defense issues and weapons based issues, and seeing all these guys, and as importantly, I like to step back and just watch the dynamic between them. Right? I like to I like to watch. I'm excited to watch a conversation between Alan Belcher, Kelly McCann, and Tom Kyer.
Yeah. Lots of big fish.
I want to sit back and I want to watch those three guys talk. And I don't know, I may end up getting lassoed into the conversation. Who knows? But sitting back, and then maybe Matt Larson comes walking by, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of interesting people with a lot of valid and diverse experience, and getting when you get those kind of people in the same environment, and you can foster um, a common purpose,
Mm-hmm.
man. I think you can make magic. I do. So I'm looking forward to that, man.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to watching Alan. um, this is his first venture into the tactical community. So I'm curious. And I've known Alan for a long time. Alan was the owner of the gym that I trained out here, before Mike bought it. Mike's the guy, Mike Sanford. He's the guy that gave me my BJJ black belt.
Okay.
Um, so this is home base for me,
Yeah. This is your home
right?
gym.
It's my home base.
Yep.
It is my home gym. I split my time between Biloxi and Austin, but still in all, that's where I trained. Mike took me from purple to black belt, and yeah, I've been training with Mike 10 years, 11 years, something like that now,
Yep.
for a while. So yeah, it's my home gym. I'm excited to see my home gym and all these people come to it. I'm excited to see for people to see my home. The Mississippi Gulf Coast. A lot of people,
Yep.
they hear Mississippi and they're like, cotton fields, racism, ignorance, and they get down here and they're like, holy shit, what is this place? With beaches and casinos and nice people and affordable living. So I'm excited for people to see that too, and to be in a place where they can do combatives and they can uh, hang out with each other. It's a place in America that's not crazy,
Yep.
and there's so many places that are crazy, and this place is not. So
Yeah. That's
yeah,
great. Yeah.
yeah,
So circling back to some of the content that you were talking about presenting, the idea of never, um, like, don't draw on a drawn gun, right? Um, like, obviously you're not in favor of that. So what does that look like, and why was that wrong, and what can you do to solve that problem?
Well, it's
Just a little tease of like, hey, you need to get to the class to
yeah,
actually understand
absolutely,
this.
absolutely. I think that right there, don't draw on a drawn gun. Kind of like when you hear something like that, it sounds like common sense, and
Hmm.
it's something that we take as ironclad,
Yep.
right? That's just that would fall into the category of always and never, right? With it absolutely being never drawn
Yep.
on a drawn gun. And I like questioning stuff like that, right? I like taking things that we think are sacred cows, things that we think are inviolate, and when we start looking at very specific situations, such as um, I'm being held at gunpoint and this guy is forcing compliance from me. He wants something from me. Maybe he wants to move me, but maybe if I can do something where with my language and a feigned false sense of compliance, I can literally create an opportunity by building a pattern that he's familiar with where I can literally shoot him in the face when he expects me to be handing over my wallet.
Hmm.
Things like that. So it's really, I think, I
So,
think
well,
this,
so in one sense, um, if your draw is the exact same thing you do, stand in front of the mirror trying to look cool, don't do that, right? Do something else that is integrated, that understands the complexity of the situation, that
yeah,
understands how do I manipulate him, how do I gain a a not necessarily a physical position of advantage, but a at least a emotional, mental decision position of advantage to be able to draw the gun.
yeah, and it also, I think, when we start getting into the weeds and stuff like this, Jeff, it just promotes deeper thinking. Such as, hey man, everybody needs a fast draw.
Yep.
Because I do this, I don't do this particularly fast,
Yep.
right? And now we start realizing everybody needs a timely draw,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So I think when we get in the weeds on these topics, it really promotes deeper thinking, right? And it really forces you to examine what you think you know and how you think you know it, and it forces you into higher and higher collegiality when you're looking at this stuff. And I think that's important. I'm tired of seeing superficial, vapid IG or social media or TikTok level thinking. I'm tired of that. And I
Yep.
want, I want, I want to get beyond freshman conversations. And I
Yep.
want the public to get beyond freshmen. Yeah, we all need, quick little snippets on social media to capture people's attention. It's the hook. I get that, but I really want to have more graduate level discussions,
Yeah, that's great.
and I want to get more people into grad school.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to going. Like I said, this is my first time. I didn't go last year, so I'll be there with Jeff Dahl, one of our guys, and looking forward to doing some training. So super fun. Um, if people, so we're live on Instagram and live on YouTube. So if people have questions, maybe we'll feel free to throw the question out there and look
Absolutely,
at them.
ask.
Um, uh, yeah. One of the things at the Combative Summit, so Tenicor is donating a whole bunch of equipment for people to use. So one of the aspects is you don't actually need to bring anything. Is I think that's John's plan. Is they're providing dummy guns, sim guns, whatever, and then holsters and other stuff. So one of the things that we're going to have there is going to be a Velo 5, which is not something we've talked much about, but you recently received one. And we haven't talked about this, but I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
Man, I took it. I haven't assembled it yet. Okay, I
Yep.
just got it, and I'm in Mississippi right now, and I had to drive over here from Austin, so I snatched it up. I looked at it real quick, and I've got it. I haven't assembled it yet. But the first thing I thought was, wow, this is like the Khartoum and the Velo 4 had a baby. It's
Yep.
like
That's. Yep.
it's like they had an offspring. I love the increased mounting options
Mm-hmm.
as far as the hardware goes. I like that there's a camming bar now,
Yep.
on the new one. I'm like, huh. And I also like the fact that it looks like the wedge is not as pronounced. I think immediately upon looking at it, besides thinking that, you know, the Kurtum and the Velo had gotten it on, I think I was like, wow, I think if you had to have like just one, this is like really the sweet spot. And I haven't even assembled it and put it in my pants yet. Actually, I did put it in my pants without the hardware on it. And I was like, huh. Yeah, I'm very excited about it, man.
Yep.
It looks good. And, you know, for anybody that's not aware, I mean, you know, we have, as you know, pretty high standards as far as our equipment goes. And Tenicor is the only holster company we're co-branded with.
Mm-hmm.
We carry Tenicor holsters. You know, they're regular Tenicor holsters in gray with a loop instead of a hook.
Yep.
But we believe in them. They work.
Yep. And
We beat the shit out of them.
that was not a hasty decision, was it?
No,
That was
no.
we'd known each other for a while and you're like, yeah, we'll see.
Dude, I'll tell you something right now. I'm going to get undressed in front of the camera. Check this shit out. I'm still wearing I mean, this is how long it's held up.
Yep.
I'm still wearing the prototype.
Zero.
Okay. In fact, you know, if you can see.
Yep. The zero belt
see
before
how-
it was a zero belt.
Yeah. I'm still wearing this belt, dude.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, you sent me other ones,
Yeah.
and I've got them like strategically stashed, and I've got them in case I need to loan one out. And every now and then, I'll slip one of the new ones on, and you sent me a tan one, you know, so I can be fashionable. But it's like, I mean, shit, dude. I mean, it's so well made. It's literally the last belt you're gonna need.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like I think with really elegant gear like this, you get it, you know, and it just works so well, and you're almost sad because like the gear chasing is over, right? You're like, but what do I have to look forward to? You know, it's once you
get
once
to
you
work
hit
on
it,
tactics and skills and
right?
stop
Exactly.
spending time wasting on equipment. So a couple questions. One is, are there going to be podcasts from the summit?
Well, you know, I think that's a good question. I think John Valentine would probably be the guy to ask, but I mean, shit, man, I'm sure, you know, Brian's going to be with me. I have an employee now.
Yep.
And I'm sure Brian will live at least.
Yep.
We haven't podcasted. Shipworks hasn't podcasted, but we'll certainly hop into anybody's podcast. And I don't know, you know, I'll talk to John about that. Maybe we can. I think it'd be a good idea maybe to do a live from the summit.
Yep.
On somebody's channel.
Yep.
You know,
for sure. I agree. And then a question probably for me: will there be a rat sheath? And so referring to the Headhunter Blades rat.
Yeah.
And at the summit, yes, there will be a rat sheath. We are, that project is in its final stages. We hopefully in the short term, potentially before the summit, we'll be launching that. And so we're really excited to put the sheath out there. And now that we have that one, you know, we are obviously collaborating with other brands. Like Craig and I have had some good discussion about it, and so there will be hopefully Tenicor sheaths for a variety of knives, mostly knives that are focused on for this community. You know, obviously Craig's knives are very different than some of the other knives, and so trying to have a really high performance sheath, a high performance carry system that complements the tactics and skills that are being utilized with those knives.
You know, and Jeff, nobody. This is a phrase I've had in my head for a while, and I've shared this with other people in the holster community. Nobody has really become or tried to occupy themselves as the safari land of blade wear.
Yep.
Right. And you know, when I first started getting that in my head, I was like, is that even a thing? I don't know.
It's not
right?
a thing right now.
Yeah, it's definitely not a thing. It's definitely not a thing. I think it could be. I tell you, man, I've seen some of the prototypes of your stuff, and just in photos. And I got to say, I'm impressed. That looks good. That looks really good. It's
Yeah. So
it's
that
and without leaking anything, I know there are no photos out. Um, it's as impressive as this is in the same way.
Yep.
And that's all I'm going to say about it. But that's my impression from the photo, that you popped in text the other day. I was like, wow, that's like the zero belt of knife sheaths. In the same exact way,
Yep.
without elaborating anymore. And I'll shut up now.
No, that's great. I mean, I think we are very like-minded in many ways. And anytime I have, like, you were the first person that when I gave a holster to and you like played with it, you're like, I don't know how you did this, but it feels like a $200 custom leather holster.
Yep.
And nobody else talks about that because people don't have that context or that background or that they're not as focused on that. But we come from similar places equipment-wise before all of this was as popular as it is now. And I was like, that's actually what I was going for. And so,
well, Jeff, you have a legitimate professional pedigree. You came from an armed profession, as did I, and we did legitimate time, and we go back. We have time and tenure, right? And when more and more this business, and I call it a business, not an industry, because industries have standards, and there are no standards in this business, right? This isn't, there's the petrochemical industry, there's the automobile industry, the tactical industry. That's not a thing. It's
tactical
not.
Business.
It's tactical business, okay? But in this business, more and more, man, we see people who were influencers first, and they decided, I'm shooting pews.
Yep.
To use a young person word, pews. Getting my pew on is cool, and they decide to do that, and they don't have. Now, a lot of those guys are cool. They are, right?
For sure.
And
they contribute.
They are what they are.
Yeah, and they contribute and they make things better, and yeah, it's great.
Absolutely agree with that. But yeah, like you said, those guys don't know what a $200 custom holster made of leather feels like, right? Because they don't come from that world.
Yeah.
Yeah. A Kramer horsehide holster.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another question is: are any Tenicor revolvers any Tenicor revolver holsters planned to accommodate like your revolver? You carry a revolver sometimes, right?
I do.
Yep.
I do.
And I would love to make revolver holsters, and that is my plan and my intention. We don't have any timeline, hyper focused on the Velo 5 right now. Plan to expand the line, so certainly taking the principles that we've used on the Velo 5, sticking a revolver in it, for sure. Very excited about that.
I'd absolutely carry a Tenicor revolver holster.
Yep.
Absolutely would. I know it would be good. I know it would do exactly what it's supposed to do, probably better than anything else has done it, because I know the attention to detail that you guys do work. Yeah.
Right on. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about the summit wise or anything?
I can't think of it, man. I'm just really excited. It's just always good to see you, man. It's always time well spent. We were just trying to figure out the last time we saw each other, and that was shot of 2020.
I think so. Which is way too long.
It's way too long, dude. Yeah. I mean, everybody gets in their own, thought their nose to the grindstone, grinding literally, and time passes, man. Yep. I'm feeling that more than anything. So I'm looking forward to seeing you again, Jeff. Yep. It has been far too long. 4 years is 4 years, considering how similar we are in our shared history. That is too long.
Yep.
That's way too long.
Right on. Okay. Thanks, Craig. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate yours.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. Bye.